Hey everybody, today I want to make a video to let you know that I just listed on my website, needlemeetsvinyl.com, this amazing pressing of the Beatles' Let It Be. Let It Be was released in 1970, and it's the last Beatles album that was released. But of course, Abbey Road was the last album they recorded all together as a band, and Abbey Road was released before Let It Be, but really, as far as the actual recording sessions go, for most of Let It Be, it was recorded in 1969, before the Abbey Road sessions. And this is a Beatles album that I think is probably one of the most misunderstood of all the Beatles albums. And I personally love it. It's just full of amazing songs, amazing performances by the band, and it's unlike any of their other albums, really. Although you could say that for pretty much all the Beatles albums. With each album, they had a new sound, and they hardly ever went back and repeated themselves. And that's very true for Let It Be. This particular pressing, though, happens to be a U.S. pressing, and it happens to be a U.S. pressing from the early 80s on the Capitol Rainbow label. Now, these are very, very hard to find, but they sound absolutely amazing, and they beat out all the other pressings of Let It Be that I have heard. And I've got my hands on a whole bunch of them, and I actually have a bunch over here to show you. But this is on the Capitol Rainbow label, and it happens to be mastered by Wally. That's etched in the dead wax, by the way. And there is side 2, as I'm trying to handle this very, very carefully. And this record is in very, 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 very nice near mint condition, and it just sounds amazing. The sound comes popping out of the speakers. It is really, really electric is how I would describe it. Compared to the other pressings that I've heard, now there are some other pressings that are very, very good, but this one just has a little bit more life to it, and I think that's very, very important when it comes to Let It Be. Because at times, there are some pressings of Let It Be that kind of sound a little sterile to me, and they're a little bit like, I wouldn't say muffled is the term, but it's kind of like a reserved sound is how I would describe it. This is not that way at all. This is electric, and it's just a very exciting listen when it comes to Let It Be. And in my opinion, this is the way to listen to Let It Be. Now, as you know, a lot of the pressings I talk about from the Beatles tend to be the original UK pressings that sound amazing. But this is a big exception as far as this is a US pressing of a Beatles album that just beats out everything else. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it just, however they were pressing these records in the early 80s, this one, it just came out fantastic. And I've had a couple of these pressings on my website before, and both the people that have picked it up were blown away by the sound. It really is a game-changing experience for the Let It Be album. So if you want to pick this one up on my website, head on over to needlemeetsvinyl.com. It sounds absolutely amazing. Now, I recently, in the last about a week and a half, I've got 2 emails from people, and they were both very nice emails, by the way, I should state, before I get into this. They were very nice, nicely written. They weren't negative at all. But they were people who were saying to me, basically along the lines of, do you actually listen to, various different pressings and different copies of these albums, specifically Beatles albums, to determine which one sounds the best? And yes, I absolutely do. And in one of the emails, they said, it would be nice if you showed all of the records that you listened to figure out which one was the best. And I'm going to do that right now. So I know sometimes when I make the videos, I just show you the end result record that's on the website, the best sounding one. But now I'm going to show you all of the copies of Let It Be that I went through and that I have picked up over the last couple of months to determine that this one sounded the absolute best. So this is the Capitol Rainbow pressing, of course, that's on the website right now. That was the winner. It sounded absolutely amazing. This top one right here is another almost identical copy, Capitol Rainbow label pressing. And this one sounded very good as well, but this one beat it out by actually quite a lot, which just goes to show you, by the way, here's Bobby. Bobby's got to make his appearance. But it just goes to show you that this pressing, they can be the exact same, but they can sound very, very different. So this is another Capitol Rainbow label from the early 1980s. And Bobby is just going to hang out right here for a little while, I guess. Okay, there he goes. Okay, the next the next three I should show you, actually. These three are all UK pressings of Abbey Road. Now, this one right here, actually I should show you what it looks like, by the way, the labels. This is a mid-1970s UK pressing of Abbey Road. And this sounds pretty good, I gotta say, by the way. It does not sound bad at all. It just doesn't have as much life as the Capitol Rainbow label pressing that I have listed on the website. But this UK pressing sounds very, very good. And by the way, this is a pressing that you would find, as I knock it over, this is a pressing you would find in one of the blue boxes. And I think I have another one that's identical to it. Yeah, this is another one from the blue box that's almost the same as this other one I just showed you. So these both sound pretty good. So those are mid-70s UK pressings. Then this is another one from a blue box. This is a later blue box though. So when they made the blue boxes, for those of you who don't know, the Beatles blue box was a UK release of all of the Beatles UK albums. There are 13 UK albums. 13 also included the Rarities album, but I won't get into that. It's just kind of its own little thing. But it was all 13 albums, and it was released in, I believe it was 1978, I think was the first time it was released. I could be wrong about that number. Anyway, it was like the mid to late 70s was when the blue box was released. But it was released mid to late 70s, and then they also released it into the early 80s as well. And this pressing is a UK pressing from the early 80s from a blue box. And oddly enough, it sounds quite different to its early mid-70s blue box counterpart, which is this one and that one. And as far as the difference in sound, I would just say that the earlier blue boxes sound quite a bit better than the later blue boxes. That's not to say that the later blue box, Let It Be, does not sound good, because again, it also sounds very good. So I'll put that over there. So those are three UK pressings of the Beatles' Let It Be album, all from different eras. Now, this is an original US pressing of the Let It Be album, and it was pressed by Bell Sound. And in the dead wax, it has where it says Phil and Ronnie. I don't know if some of you are familiar with that, but it's a very early Let It Be pressing. And of course, I have another one of these in my own collection, but I picked up one of these because this is in very, very good condition. The actual sleeve is not in the best condition, but the actual record is very, very nice. I'll show that to you right now. There it is on the red Apple label. And the US pressings, they sound okay is how I would describe them. They don't compare at all, in my opinion, to the UK pressings. But they're okay. If you ended up picking up one of these, for like anywhere from like $10 to $20, that'd be a pretty good purchase because it sounds pretty good. And it's the Beatles, so you can't really go wrong with that. And it has the gatefold, which is very, very cool. And all these other ones do not have the gatefold. Some of these other ones over here do, but I'll show you those coming up. So that's an original US pressing from 1970. Then this is a Japanese pressing. I think this is from like the early 1970s, and this is also a gatefold, which is very, very cool. Now, this Japanese pressing sounds really good. The only thing it has going against it, though, is that it has a bit of distortion happening on a bunch of songs. Now, and that's never good. And it's sadly kind of is true with a lot of these Japanese pressings of the Beatles albums from the early 70s. They tend to have a little bit of distortion, and the distortion is in the low end. And I think that might be because they were trying to boost up the low end a little bit, because a lot of the Beatles albums were a little bit light on the bass on some pressings and some masters of it. And so I think the Japanese pressings, they tried to boost up the bass, and it actually ended up kind of getting some distortion going on. So that's what's going against this Japanese pressing. And by the way, I'll show you what the record looks like. It's right there. And if it didn't have the distortion on it, it would actually be a very, very, very cool pressing and a very nice pressing to listen to. But the distortion kind of takes it out of the running for me, at least. But Japanese pressing of Let It Be. Now, this is a pressing from Holland, and this is from the early 1970s. I think I found this out, it was like 71, 72, something like that. And this actually sounds really, really good. This was the second place winner as far as all the Let It Be albums for me. It beat out the UK pressings, and it was pretty close to the Capitol Rainbow label as well. But it just didn't have that extra excitement that the Rainbow label had. And on top of that, this one didn't seem to have quite as much bass as the Capitol Rainbow label as well. But there is the label, and this one, it's kind of a unique looking label, actually, a little bit different than you'd normally see for the Apple label. Again, this is a pressed in Holland, and it did sound pretty good. And then, just for fun, I included in my listening the 2009 remaster of Let It Be, and this one happens to be one that was pressed in Germany. And this sounds really good. Now, the thing that the 09 remasters have against them, and by the way, this was pressed in 2012, but it's from the 09 digital remasters. So what it has going against it is exactly that. It's a digital remaster. So there are good things about that, and there are bad things about that. The bad things, of course, are that the low end, the bass, is pretty inauthentic to me on here. It's been really boosted. And it can just be a little bit overwhelming at times. And to me, when you hear a really nice pressing of a record with really nice bass, and then you hear a digital remaster, you can really hear the difference there in the low end. And that is so true for the 09 remasters. That's what's going against it, really. The good things that it has going for it is that if you pick up one of these records, you can still find these in like a Barnes & Noble, or I've even seen these in Target. They're online as well. You can still pick these up, no problem, for at least under $25. And they were pressed really well. They're very, very clean, so you can get a clean copy of Let It Be. And it sounds really good overall. But as far as getting the best sounding, authentic Let It Be, this one really doesn't measure up to any of these original pressings of Let It Be. So, and by the way, I haven't even included in this the Let It Be Naked album, because it's a different album altogether, and it was remixed, and it was totally digitally processed and all that kind of stuff. So while it has some of the same songs and a lot of the same songs, I just didn't include it at all because obviously it's its own thing. So I just wanted to show all of you that I do indeed listen to many, many different pressings of each album that I have on my website to find the best sounding one. And a lot of the time, most of the time, I even listen to various copies of the exact same pressing, as in this case, where this is the one that made the website, and this is an identical one, same matrix numbers and everything, but it didn't really, it wasn't quite as good as the one that I listed on the website. So that may have been a little bit boring for some of you, and if it was, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to go into depth a little bit and explain what it is I do to find these amazing sounding pressings of these Beatles albums. Now, before I go, I'm sure a lot of you are asking, okay, so now you have all these leftover copies of Let It Be, what are you going to do with them? Well, what I do is I keep a lot of them, including pressings I don't have in my own collection. I will keep them just because A, I'm a collector myself, and B, when I do future listenings for the Let It Be album, I will have a lot of these to go back to and refer to. Now, some of these I already have in my collection, like I have a Japanese pressing of Let It Be. I have one of these that was from Holland. I have the US pressing. I have one of the UK pressings from the Blue Box, of my own Blue Box. So those ones, what I will do is I will probably sell them back to a lot of my local record stores and get store credit so I can go buy some more records for my website or just for myself. Or I'll sell them online, or I'll give them away to some of my friends, because I have a lot of friends that we do record exchanges, and it's always just kind of fun to share the love. So yes, that is what I do with all of the extra copies of records that I have. So that was an in-depth description of what exactly I do to find the best sounding records and what I do with the records afterward. So, if you want to get this fantastic sounding pressing of Let It Be, head over to the website, needlemeetsvinyl.com. This will go very, very quickly. I have 3 people who had written to me since the last time I posted Let It Be on the website, all asking when I will have it on the website again. So I'm sure they're eagerly waiting for this one. But it's a first come, first serve basis. So as soon as I list it on the website, whoever picks it up first, that's who gets it. So best of luck to whoever picks this one up because it sounds amazing. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, this comes with a poster of the actual cover. These rainbow labels all had posters with them. So, and the posters, it's about like this big is how I describe it. So this is like 1/4 the size of the poster. So anyway, a little extra kind of goodie there. That's it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Take care. More records to come, and bye for now.